Hello and welcome back to another episode of Handloader TV. As always, I'm your host, Jeremiah, and in this episode we're going to be taking a deep dive into the 6mm GT Cartridge and this GA Precision rifle we have before us, the PPR. And we'll talk about that in just a moment, but before we get too far into this video, I want to make you guys aware of the fact that this video is in collaboration with Handloader Magazine and Wolf Publications. And if you look at Handloader issue number 358, there's going to be actually two articles, one written by myself and one written by Patrick Mateen. And you can check out and see all the hand loading and load development we did with the 6mm GT cartridge. If you want to know the history of the cartridge, you just want to learn more about this setup in general, I would highly encourage you guys to check those out. And they're available for purchase on our website, wolfoutdoorsports.com. And you can also subscribe to the magazine at handloadermagazine.com. And you can do that digital version or the print, and it's a great way to support what we're doing here on YouTube with Handloader TV and all the testing that we conduct. As far as I'm aware, nobody else is going to the lengths that we are to test these rifles. We've had two excellent shooters shoot this rifle. Patrick wrote an article on it, and then I went ahead and wrote an article on it, shot the rifle as well. So there's been a lot of time behind this rifle and a lot of shared experience with it, and which is really neat because then you get some different perspectives on the rifle and cartridge, not just my own. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into the rifle itself and kind of talk about the components used to put this thing together. And then we'll dive into the hand loading side of things and we'll shoot the rifle. But if you really want to get the whole story, again, be sure to check out those articles. Lots of great information that we won't have time to cover in this video. So with that, let's dive in. So the test rifle that we have before us is a really interesting, really neat rifle. It is made by GA Precision, and it is their PPR, or their Pinnacle Production Rifle. And they claim it is the most accurate production rifle on the market. And of course, as always, we'll put that to the test and you be the judge. But we're going to shoot a lot of ammunition through this rifle. We've already had several other people shoot a lot of ammunition through this rifle. So we're going to get a very good overall feel for the performance of this thing. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at the details, starting out with the action itself, because I really think that's the heart of this rifle. It's built on GA Precision's own Gladius 2 action, and it feels super slick, super smooth running the bolt through the raceway, and just smooth as can be. It does feature a 2-position safety here. Rear is safe, forward to fire as your typical safety is. And as a whole, this rifle, as it's currently configured, weighs just over 17 pounds with the optic and the muzzle brake installed. So overall, it's a rather heavy rifle, but that's really going to help soak up the recoil and allow you to spot your hits or misses downrange, which in my opinion is very, very important, especially when you look at what this rifle is really designed for, that more PRS style shooting or match shooting, if you will. So then taking a look at the stock, this is a rather unique stock. We have some texturing here at the fore end and at the wrist or the grip here, which is very nice. This stock is made by Manners. It's an MCS T2A Gap in Elite Everglades color. So a very, very nice stock here. And one thing that I should point out is there is a slight difference between the original Manners MCS T2A and the Gap version. The Gap version just has a very flat fore end there, so you can easily mount a full-length Arca rail on it if so desired, which personally I really like that. That's nice. And then we have a KMW adjustable cheek piece here. Very nice recoil pad fitted on this guy, as well as QD sockets on this side. And we've got another QD socket up here on this side. So there's plenty of options to attach slings and things of that nature. Then rolling right along, this rifle is compatible with AICS magazines. And one of the big advantages to the 6mm GT is the fact that it's easy to feed. It feeds from a simple 308 magazine without any issues. And again, we'll showcase that for you in this video. I've already shot this rifle a little bit, and it feeds and functions flawlessly. And then on an average of 5 pulls on my Wheeler Engineering digital trigger pull gauge, I got this triggered to break at 2 pounds, 5 ounces, again, average of 5 pulls, which is very good, and we've come to expect that. The trigger installed in this guy from GA Precision is the Trigger Tech Special, so very nice, and we're obviously clear here. It's been checked multiple times, but that trigger feels really good when you squeeze it. No take up, straight to the wall. Very nice, clean, crisp break with no over travel whatsoever. So a very nice trigger, perfect for match shooting and PRS competition. Then we have a 26-inch truck barrel axle. Just kidding. But it's a very thick contour. I believe this is the MTU contour from Bartline. This is a 26-inch barrel, 1 7.2 twist, and very, again, heavy contour, which, again, very well lends itself towards PRS style shooting. We have a 4-baffle muzzle brake on the end there to soak up any remaining recoil that the weight of the rifle didn't and help keep you on target to spot your hits or misses. The barrel is threaded 5/8 by 24, and overall it's very nice. And then last but certainly not least here, we have a Torchworks steel tunable Arca Swiss rail on the bottom there. You can add weights to it to increase the weight of the rifle if so desired. And to top everything off, in loopholed backcountry rings, we have a loopholed Mark V HD 5-25 by 56 front focal plane optic mounted in very nice rings. And this rail is a 20 MOA rail. And one nice thing that I really like they do with these rails is they are pinned and then they're torqued down with torque screws as well. So it's a very secure optics mounting platform. So there you have it. That's pretty much all the details on the rifle. Let's go ahead and jump on over to the hand loading side of things, and we'll talk about that, because up until recently, if you wanted to shoot this cartridge, you had to hand load for it. But now Hornady has released factory ammunition, and there's a lot of other boutique ammunition manufacturers that are starting to support this cartridge, which is really nice to see because it is really a quite fascinating cartridge. So let's walk you through what we did and the steps you need to know to reload this cartridge, and we'll talk about this press a little bit as well. The 6mm GT cartridge is actually very simple and very easy to reload for. If you've reloaded for any other bottleneck rifle type case, you should have a basic understanding of how that works. So rather than walk you through step by step, showcasing each step, we're just going to kind of talk you through it along the way and show you what we did to develop our loads for this rifle. And this will also coincide with the loads that I developed for the magazine article as well, and some of the targets you'll see in this video will be in that table as well, so you can keep an eye out for those. Pretty neat to have such kind of cross promotion and cross publication on a rifle like this and the cartridge. So starting out, we went ahead and selected some high quality components, starting out with Lapua cases, which I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but that's how I say it. It's kind of funny. But they are outstanding, high quality cartridge cases. They've got a long-standing reputation for being consistent, reliable, and accurate, and getting plenty of reloads out of the cases. So then we went ahead and selected some Forster equipment. We've got a Forster coax press that we're going to be using to develop all of our loads, as well as some Forster bench rest dies. And this die, the sizing die, is their bushing die, which for this particular lot of brass that we're using, I believe I have the bushing pre-installed here, which is a 264 diameter neck bushing. And with these Forster bushings, they have a little bit of a chamfer here on the edge that goes down into the bushing die. And what that little bushing in there does is it allows you to control your neck tension of your case, or in other words, how tightly the case is gripping the bullet or the projectile. So what I like to do is just back it off a little bit once I bottom out on the bushing. And then one other great thing about the Forster press is once your lock ring is set, all you got to do to swap dies is push them in and pop them out. Very easy. So then we had some high quality bullets, some match style bullets, because this really is a match cartridge. And then we also have some high quality powders that we're going to put to the test and work up loads for. So in order to develop our loads, we went ahead and started out with brand new unfired Lapua cases. This guy here has been fired once already, just for video demonstration purposes, but the case was run up into the sizing die like so, and we resized our case, setting our neck tension for our bullet. Then from there, once the cases were all sized, a chamfer and deburr was applied using an RCBS Brass Boss 2, and that sped up the process greatly. And then I went ahead and primed everything using a Forster coax primer seater, which is a wonderful tool. Really enjoyed that. You can seat on the coax press itself. If I pop the die out here, this is actually their primer seating apparatus for on the press priming, but I really like their bench mounted primer a little bit better. Then from there, we went ahead and charged the cases. I used a Forster powder measure to dump the charges and then hand trickled charges up to proper charge weight. I used an RCBS Matchmaster as a scale to ensure all charge weights were accurate to about 4/100ths of a grain. And then we went ahead and seated our bullets, which for that we used a Forster bench rest ultra micrometer seating die, which is a really, really awesome die. I'm not going to seat any bullets here because I'm a little bit lazy and I don't want to pull them later on. But as you can see, as this case is run up, there's this sliding sleeve that you're going to see come around. And when you're seating bullets, it just helps align the cartridge case and the bullet itself to ensure that you are concentrically seating that bullet, meaning that bullet is seated perfectly straight in that case. And I really, really like that. Another really nice thing about the Forster coax press is I can put a cartridge in here, and these sliding S-jaws, as they refer to them, actually move together slightly right there, and they grip the case, which pretty much eliminates the need for a shell holder, which is really, really nice, especially for those of us who wet tumble and like to deprime their cases before they size them. You don't have to worry about fooling around with swapping shell holders for different cartridges. This works with just about anything, which is really nice. When I first got this press, I decapped about 2 gallons worth of range brass from 221 Fireball all the way up to 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum without any issues using that system there. So all in all, loading for the 6GT is a really easy, simple, and straightforward process, and if you follow the steps we just outlined, you too can assemble accurate hand loads like we're going to do in this video. And for this particular video, since there is 2 other articles going along with it, we're just going to showcase you a few of the targets, and they might not necessarily be the best loads either. We're just going to showcase what we have time for. If you really want to see all the loads, you need to check out our website, loaddata.com, type in Handloader TV in the search bar, look for 6mm GT loads, and on that website you'll be able to see everything: the group size, extreme spread, standard deviation, powder we used. The only thing you won't be able to see is a powder charge. We've reserved that for subscribers to the website, and it's a great way to support what we're doing. It helps us grow the database, continue our testing, and you get the world's largest online reloading manual at your fingertips. So be sure to check that out if you haven't done so already. On that note, let's go ahead and take this rifle. We'll go hit the range, and we'll see what kind of groups our preloaded ammunition here is capable of. So we're out on the range now. We've got the rifle benched in. Downrange, there is a target at 100 yards as usual. And according to the Kestrel 5700 here, it is 98 degrees Fahrenheit, so a very warm day. We're going to be fighting the barrel heat all day today. Humidity is 15%. Pressure is 30.37 when adjusted for elevation, which is 5,000 feet. So it's a pretty hot day. That might affect our groups because getting a big barrel like this to cool does take some time, but it also is slower to warm up. So it's kind of a catch-22 with that. But we'll see what we can do. Let's go ahead and dive into our first load. So this first load that we're going to put to the test here is using Shooter's World Creed powder, a maximum charge of 33 grains with 105 grain Burger boat tail target bullet, Lapua cases, Federal 205M primers, and our overall loaded length is 2.475 inches. If I rattled that off too quick, don't worry, there's going to be a full target review after the shooting segment of this video, and the load data will be on screen so that way you guys can see it and review it. I've also got two chronographs set up here to record our muzzle velocities. I've got a Garmin C10 Pro chronograph and an Athlon, and we're going to be using the velocities in this video from the Garmin. The Athlon's just there as a backup in case the Garmin overheats, which it is rather prone to do at temperatures above 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And just one of those things we got to deal with. But if we do use any of the Athlon numbers, we will let you know. So without further delay, settled in here, let's shoot a group. From where I sit, that looks like a pretty decent group. It's fighting the mirage there a little bit on those last couple of shots. It's just so stinking hot. There's mirage at the target, and then as the barrel heats up, there's mirage off the barrel too. So shooting little bug hole groups, 0.1s, 0.2s, it's just going to be very challenging. I think the rifle might be capable, but we'll keep testing and we'll find out for sure. All right, up next we have Hodgdon H4350, a 34 grain charge with 105 grain Nosler RDF bullet, Lapua cases, Federal 205M primers, and our overall loaded length is 2.540 inches. We'll go ahead and settle in, shoot another group. Shot through quite a few different loads off camera with Shooter's World Creed powder. And I was pretty impressed with that, actually. You never know what to expect with a brand new powder. That was my first time trying it, truth be told. And in the GT, it seemed to perform pretty dang good. Let's see what 4350 can do. Not a bad showing from 4350 for a start charge. Not bad at all. This action is a super slick. Main reason why I turn my hat around so I don't bump it with my big fat paws here as I'm working the action. But holy cow, this thing, I've shot just about 50 rounds through this thing so far, and man, that is super nice. Trigger feels really good. Yeah. And that rifle's heavy enough, manipulating the bolt. Watch the rifle move. Just barely at all, which allows me to shoot a lot faster, which is nice, especially since the wind has picked up a little bit. We've got about a 12 mile an hour wind blowing from about 9 o'clock at the target, and at the bench it's actually blowing from about 6 o'clock. So there's some funky things going on with the wind, so trying to shoot quick and keep the conditions the same is kind of nice to have a slick action like that. Well, on to the next load. The next load that we're going to go ahead and put to the test is using Hodgdon Varget powder, a 30.0 grain charge with 109 grain Burger long-range hybrid target bullet, Lapua cases, Federal 205M primers, and our overall loaded length is 2.595 inches. So right at max COAL for this cartridge. However, one nice thing about this gap rifle is the fact that it uses 308 magazines. You've got plenty of length. If you wanted to load these bullets long, you most certainly can do that. But for video purposes, we just stuck with that kind of already previously established maximum OAL. But enough talk, let's shoot. I'm actually going to flip my hat around for this so I can work that bolt just a little bit better, because it's kind of fun to work the bolt on this gun. Okay, no pressure. A little bit of horizontal stringing, a little bit of choppy wind. That probably could have been a better group on my part. I think the rifle is definitely capable. We've shot quite a few loads off camera at this point, and she's shooting good. She's shooting real good. The next load that we're going to go ahead and put to the test is using Vitavori N540 powder, a 33.5 grain charge with 109 grain Burger long-range hybrid target bullet, Lapua cases, Federal 205M primers, and our overall loaded length is 2.595 inches. Real curious to put this Vitavori powder to the test. The 22 arc and 6mm arc both really like this powder. And the 6 GT is obviously a little bit bigger case. I'm going to turn around the hat for this, get serious. But I still think that there is some room for potential with this powder in this cartridge. So, as always, proof's on the paper. Let's put it to the test. Shot number 5. Looks like we got a little bit of vertical stringing on that guy. I am shooting these kind of fast. Maybe I need to slow down a smidge. But it's easy to do with a rifle that's got such a slick action. But all in all, not too shabby. So as you can see, we're back at the bench now, and we've got some really good results to go over. And before I get too far into that, don't forget loaddata.com, check it out, and you can see all the loads we tested through this rifle, as well as the loads that Patrick Mateen tested. So great resource there. Now let's dive into the results. Taking a look at our first target, we used Shooter's World Creed powder. This is a brand new powder from Shooter's World, so this is the first cartridge I've had the chance to put it to the test in, and boy, it did not disappoint. This is a 33 grain charge, which is a maximum charge in this rifle. Use caution, work your way up to this, but with a 105 grain Berger boat tail target, we assembled a group size of just 0.37 inches for 5 shots with a standard deviation of 4 and an extreme spread of 11 and a very, very respectable velocity that's pushing 2,900 feet per second. So very pleased with our results there. Then we went ahead and moved on to a mainstay in the 6 GT, Hodgdon H4350 powder. A 34 grain charge got us a 0.42 inch group size for 5 shots, standard deviation of 8, and extreme spread of 22. And still pretty respectable velocity there for a start charge there. And all in all, I'm very pleased with the performance of that powder and load. Then we went ahead and decided to switch it up to Hodgdon Varget, which really is what this 6mm GT case was designed around, that powder, believe it or not. And we used a start charge of 30 grains to assemble a 0.37 inch group with 109 grain Berger long range hybrid target bullets, a standard deviation of 6, and an extreme spread of just 20 feet per second. So very good there for just 5 shots. And then we have Vitavori N540 powder, a maximum charge of 33.5 grains, and use caution, this is a load I developed all on my own. There is no load data out there for the 6 GT with this powder as far as I'm concerned, and it is a little bit fast in the burn rate for the 6 GT. Nevertheless though, we got a 0.39 inch group size, standard deviation of 5, extreme spread of 14, and an average velocity of 3,034 feet per second. So all in all, we got really, really good results. We did do a ton more testing off camera, and if you want to see that, again, loaddata.com, check it out. But as a whole, this rifle performed extremely well during our load development process. So with that, let's go ahead and close out this video with some final thoughts on the rifle, the cartridge, and the loads we put together. So overall, the rifle performed very, very well in my opinion, and this is just that. It is my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. You've seen the results. You can check all of them, verify what we said, what we showed in this video, and you can make an educated decision for yourself if this is indeed the most accurate production rifle on the market. But as a whole, the rifle and cartridge performed extremely well in my opinion. I think it was very accurate. I think it is a true, generally speaking, half MOA rifle, which is the accuracy guarantee for this particular model. And if I do a statistical analysis on the 29 loads we tested in this particular rifle, the group size with a 95% confidence level should fall between 0.482 inches and I believe it was 0.609 inches. So really, really close to that half MOA mark there as far as group size goes, and that's across the 29 different loads that we tested. If you were to pick the best load and just shoot that, it might even get better. So as a whole, I find that extremely impressive with a production rifle that GA Precision is making and cranking out. I think this would be an absolutely outstanding option for somebody who's looking to get started into the PRS match style shooting. To be honest with you, I wouldn't hesitate to take this rifle, go hit a local match with any of the one loads we showcased here, and I think I would be extremely competitive. And considering the cost of the rifle, which is right around $3,000 at the time I'm filming this, I could be off a little bit on that, but it's about three grand for this rifle. And that's an extremely competitive price point to get you started in PRS and get you instantly competitive. Because if you were to go the custom rifle route, rifles like this can be anywhere from $35 to $55. I know some people have spent as much as $10,000 on their custom rifles for precision shooting sports. So $3 grand in that context really doesn't seem like a bad deal to me. So overall, it's got a great trigger on it. I personally put 150 rounds just during the load development portion of this rifle. I went ahead and reloaded those cases and put another 150 rounds on this rifle, just shooting it at steel and burning out the barrel a little bit on it. But at this time, I have about 300 rounds through the rifle total, and its performance has been stellar. It feeds reliably, it's very accurate, and overall, it's just a joy to shoot. So there you have it. Take it with a grain of salt. There's my 2 cents on this rifle. I want to thank you guys so very much for watching. We greatly appreciate it. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. We'll close out the final bit of this video with a few comments that I want to respond to that you guys have left. As always, if you've got some comments, leave them down there. I do read every single one of those. And at the end of these videos, I try to respond to at least a few of them, especially the important questions. So let's dive into that next. All right, so I've got some of your guys' comments from our recent videos pulled up here on my phone. This video is our 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum in a carbine video. And that was a lot of fun to put together, and we've got a lot of comments on this one. So New Mexico Elk Hunter, or NM Elk Hunter 1, says, Jeremiah, if this channel doesn't work out for you, I bet Ukraine will hire you to stop T-80 tanks with that rifle. In all seriousness, that's a very cool rifle. Yeah, that thing, I don't know if it'd stop a T-80 tank, but it would definitely do some damage to it if you hit it in the right place, especially the optics and things like that. Yeah, that thing is a thumper. It is a lot of fun to shoot, but it definitely packs a punch. So thank you very much for watching, all the support on that video. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. And let's see, this is Lewis Baby COS 106. It says, I think there is an AR that uses a modified 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum caliber for a semi-auto rifle. And yes, that is correct. Bighorn Armory, the same manufacturer that makes that lever action, actually makes an AR-15 that is chambered in what they call the 500 Automax, and that is essentially a 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum cartridge with the rim turned down for feeding and functioning in a semi-auto platform. So really, really cool rifle. It is out there. You can look it up on their website. Very, very cool gun. Lots of comments on here about the recoil. Jeremy 67A says, put a brake on that monster. They do offer models with a threaded barrel, and you can do so if so desired. But I don't know, I like the clean look on a lever gun without a brake, so I personally put up with the recoil. But it is an option, they do make it. And this is the one rainstorm we get in Arizona. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it is pouring outside right now. This is another comment from E. Frey 1911. This is on our 218 Mashburn B, favorite rifles and loads. He says, gorgeous rifle in a great old caliber. A lot of people don't think those older cartridges can shoot, but let me tell you, they certainly can, especially if you chamber them properly in a good rifle. They're very, very accurate, and it's amazing what folks could do. This comment comes from our 6mm Remington favorite rifles and loads video. And this is Frank Cannon 9211. It says, I'm having a difficult time finding ammo for my Remington 6mm in Phoenix, Arizona. Everything is ARC and Creedmoor. Any suggestions? 6mm Remington ammunition. It's going to be tough to find. There is a good store down there called Bruno's Shooter Supply. If you could check that out. Otherwise, your Sportsman's, Bass Pro, not likely to have 6mm Remington. Not going to say it's impossible, but it's kind of a dying cartridge, as much as I hate to say it. So honestly, your best bet for ammunition, if you don't hand load, is going to be online. But I'd check out Bruno's Shooter Supply down there before I resort to the online fees associated with purchasing ammunition. Then this last comment I'll go ahead and read. This comes from our 7mm Remington Magnum hand loads video. This is from Gravecrawler 1629. It says, I just started reloading. I use Hornady ELDX 162, and I'm playing with different powders now, playing with IMR 4831. So very, very cool powder there. Very good powder. I think we tested that powder. Oh no, we did H4831, I think, in that particular video. 162 grain ELDX and the 7mm Remington Magnum is a great combination. And yeah, best of luck to you there. Hope you work up a good load. And if you have any questions, as always, you can leave them in the comment section below. Sadly, that's all we have time for now, but if you have a comment, you have a question, drop them in there. I do read every single one of them. and I'm happy to reply to them as time allows, and I love to discuss them in these videos. That's one thing that you guys are absolutely awesome about. You like the video, you comment on the video, and the comments that you leave are very, very good. You're sharing load data information, technical specifications for your rifle, and all sorts of really, really interesting things, and you help each other out in the comment section, which I love to see. So thank you for all those who watch and contribute to these videos. We greatly appreciate it. And don't forget, like, hit that bell icon, and subscribe so you're notified when we post our next video, and I will catch you guys in the next episode.